Hello, this presentation is called Creating a Successful Title I Program. And when I mean program, I'm just talking music in general for the middle school campus. My name is Christopher Gonzalez. I am the band director at Kleb Intermediate School in Klein ISD. That is a 6 through 8 campus, and we start our beginner band students or orchestra students in the 6th grade. My cohort at the time of TBA was Michael Warney. He's a brass specialist in the Houston metropolitan area. He's also the trombone. He's a trombonist for the Houston Ballet Orchestra and plays around. He will not be in this presentation. So just to let you know, he's just a wonderful person. His contact information as well as mine is on this slide here if you need to contact us in any way. Now, the purpose of this presentation. Our number one purpose is, firstly, is to reach new and also seasoned teachers who teach or will be teaching in a Title I school or school district. If you're new to teaching, we are going to make sure that we line everything up before you get started. If you're new to a Title I school, we're going to do the same, but get to a little bit more into the details of what needs to happen before you get started into your school. What we'll do is organize your vision and goals for creating a successful program. We're going to give you an example of the Do It Middle School vision, and we're going to show you the Kleb Intermediate, which is my new school, what the vision looks like there. Now, we believe, and I believe, that if you're going to start something new, you need to dream big. You need to have big goals, because if you don't, you're just missing out on what really needs to happen for your program. If you don't know where you're going, you're lost. Before we get going into the teaching and classroom strategies, you need to understand the student and culture in your classroom. Many of you who have worked in Title I understand that our students are going through things at home that probably you have never experienced growing up. Lack of funds, parent involvement. This might be the first activity that your student has ever been in. So we're going to dive into some also trends and behaviors that you see in your campus or in your classroom. Once you understand that, then we're ready to do the fun stuff, which is implementing teaching strategies and classroom strategies to help you be effective and to help you reach your goal. Now, the next thing that we want to talk about is for those who are going into a new situation. Either you're a brand new teacher getting into a Title I school, or you're a seasoned teacher getting to a Title I school. There are three big categories that when I started at Do It Middle School, I wanted to touch. One was the history of the band program. And there are a few ways to figuring out the success or lack of success in the program before you got there. One, you can find test scores of the school on like schooldigger.com. State contests or festivals are online you can find. But you want to talk to maybe the previous head director or even the assistant director and the high school director to find out what was going on, how can we make this better. If it was already a great program, what can I do to make it really run the way that the high school director would like to see it, or the fine arts director. Secondly, would be the expectation of the band program and from the district. This is something you need to do is just firstly talk to the principal. Talk to the principal and see, hey, what can I do? What is your expectation of the band program? And I want to make sure that I can do what you want to do, but I want to do more as well. Talk to the fine arts director. What funds come in to help pay for instrument repair or maybe some master classes throughout the year? And is it okay if we make twos? Sometimes twos are not bad, but in a situation, it might be your Division I at that time. Okay? And thirdly, observation of strengths and weaknesses in the program. Now, you can find this uh, after your first day or first week of school. Write these down, figure out, hey, these kids don't come into the room very calmly. It's pretty rowdy. Well, come up with solutions, which we will talk about later into this presentation. But find some weaknesses that you're noticing or some trends, and write them down. And say, how can I fix this? Okay. All right. Now, before we get into the vision, there are the big five that I like to talk about when it comes to organization, and this all happens before the school year starts. The first one, and we're going to start with schedule and just go around the loop. Scheduling. Make sure that you're talking to your counselors and to the person doing the master schedule. See if there's any discrepancies in what you expect, and be nice to them. Get to know them and say, hey, I'm here for you. I want to help you in any way possible. Then inventory. In our situation in Title I, we get many students who just can't afford an instrument. This is where you reach out. This is where you put the work in and place all the instruments that is school owned and figure out what works, what doesn't. Next is budget. You have your activity account, but if you're blessed enough to have a booster club, that's another fund that can just be a benefit to the kids at your school. Next, know your TMEA and region deadlines and expectations, and talk to people. Find somebody in the region who can give you all the answers. Communication. Make sure you've communicated with your parents that you're the new director of your school, what your expectations are, and how excited you are to be the new band director. Also communicating with your janitors and secretaries and all your principals and your counselors. But one thing that a lot of people forget is that you have a big advocate who come in the form of your music companies. They will do whatever you need. Okay? They are there for business and to serve us directors in any way that we need. Now, there was a situation about 5 years ago at DeWitt where we had an influx of students who joined the band. I mean, it was awesome. Uh, they started students in the elementary school were hearing rumors that band is fun, but we're also pretty good. And we did not have enough instruments in our inventory, and we had an influx of families who just couldn't afford the instrument. I decided to call the regional manager of one of these companies, and I said, hey, we're in a situation. These kids really want to be in band. The families are just so sad that they can't be in band. And what this regional manager did was say, hey, don't worry about it. Just let me know what you need. And every kid in our band program who signed up for band had an instrument, and they loaned us the instrument at no cost. Now, contact them, see what they can do to help. Okay, guys? Now, and the final thing is your calendar. Get everything set up. Now, it's all about routine, and it's in training our students on what to do. And we want to make sure we have a schedule for them and for the family so that they can be notified and they're ahead of time. Okay, now we get to the fun stuff. This is your vision. This is your dreaming big. This is your, I don't know if we'll ever get there, but you know what? It's part of my vision of what I want for this band program. Your vision is something that takes time. It's a crock pot, not a microwave. This will take some time for you to reach because, as you know, and you've been in this situation before, growing a program is just a slow process. You have to build success, and that success feeds off each other. Success feeds off success. Now, in these goals, your vision is knowing where you want to go, but you don't entirely see the path. Your vision is a picture of future success. And you need to write down all the successes that you wish. If it's, I want to get more students in Region Band, or I want to build a culture of students who love being here. Maybe you want to be in, a state finalist or be nationally recognized. This is what I'm talking about. Title I, take Title I to get that title out and start thinking big as if you were in the perfect world. Now, in setting your vision, you want to make sure that there are goals that are small and achievable. Your goals will quantify and define the steps you must take. Your goals are now. So from year to year, you should be checking off goals, and you should start seeing data driven performances that are going, okay, well, we sound better, or I got more kids into Region Band. Those are little goals that you can do, or even as little as, I want my kids to come in calmly in the room. Now, your vision will shape and organize your goal. I am a big advocate of individual students and how to teach the individual and know the individual. Now, this is singular. Student performance will be the ultimate driving force for your vision and goals. Now, after my first year of being at DeWitt Middle School in 2010, 2011, I found it pretty difficult at times to trust the vision that I had and that I had written down. Now, the story goes, about midway through my first year at DeWitt Middle School, it was my first year being the head director at DeWitt Middle School, I was in a meeting with our principal. And this meeting was supposed to last 20 minutes. It ended up lasting 2 hours. But through this meeting, my principal at the time, Mr. Paul LeBlanc, who's now the assistant principal at the Woodlands High School, he asked me a question. And I wasn't really ready for it. But that question that he asked me was, what is your vision of the DeWitt Band? Now, I paused for about 10 seconds because I was a little startled and shocked by that question, because I've never been asked that question before by a principal. And I was a little stumped because I was like, well, I don't know. And that's one thing I couldn't tell my principal. So I had to come up with something big and smart sounding for my principal, because he was my evaluator as well. But I told him, I said, you know what? In 3 to 4 years, I want to be state recognized. In 4 to 5 years, I want to be nationally recognized. And he kind of paused, I paused, and I didn't really realize what just spewed out of my mouth at the time. Now, after the 2 hours of our meeting, which was a great meeting, I remember going home and telling my wife what I had just said, and she gives me this really death beaming glare, and she's like, well, you know what you just did? I said, yeah, I know. She wanted to reiterate what we were both thinking. Now you have to commit. I said, I know I do. And from that moment, thanks to Mr. Paul LeBlanc, I was like, I have to get moving. I have a dream, and I'm going to put it on paper, and it's going to happen no matter what. If it takes 3 years, awesome. If it takes 10 years, we will get there. Now, talking about the vision, I have my top 10 DeWitt Band vision. Now, as you're reading this, I started from the top, and I got my vision got broader and broader. I based this top 10, which I felt at the time is just enough to fulfill all my needs as a band director in my program and building the program. It started from creating the culture of success, because it was not there. You've been there where maybe students were running around and maybe cussing at you. Well, I had all of that my first year. Well, heck, I had that my first day at DeWitt Middle School. But I wanted to build the culture, and that started with me. I wanted to increase the band program to over 300. I wanted 15 to 20 students to earn a spot in the region band annually. Now, my first year, we had 0 students make the first band, but we had every last chair in the region and in every category that first year. And I actually kept the region band results on. I taped it up to the wall where I sat on my desk in the office, and I looked at it every single day to remind me things will get better. Now, I'm not going to read all these to you, as you've probably read them, but I've discussed the last two. You know, um, with a strong vision, in 4 years we became state recognized, and we've done that twice. In 5 years we became nationally recognized. We performed at Music for All. We were national winners in many other festivals, and it's just an awesome thing. And talk about just being blessed. It was so cool. Now, here are the club band vision, which I start in the fall of 2018. Well, as you recognize, as you're seeing this and reading down the list, we're using the Do It Band vision as the model for CLEB. Now, CLEB Intermediate is not a Title I school quite yet, and I do envision that it will be at one point, at a point. But there are some differences, but we're going to hold strong to it, because your vision is not about Title I. Your vision is about what you want for your program. Now, here's some of the things that we've accomplished. To the top left, we have our first year of making sweepstakes, and that happened in 4 years. Year 4. And here are the many other accomplishments. That's Mr. Warney and I with the kids shaved my head and they colored his hair after a sweepstakes award, which is kind of really cool. That was some intrinsic motivation for making sweepstakes. So here's some awards, some national awards and some local regional awards, even a grand champion at a local festival. Now, I'm a big quotes guy, and here is a quote from Steve Jobs. If you are working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. Now that we're getting to the end of the vision part, what your big wants and needs are, you need to write this down. What is your vision? This is something that's a collaborative thing to do. You want to talk to your assistant, if you have an assistant, and come up with what you want to see based off the weaknesses that you see or the strengths. Any limitation that has come out of your mouth about why you can't, you need to write those down. And then you need to collaborate and find solutions for those limitations, because anything's possible. Now, once you've done that, give this sheet to your high school directors. And then what you want to do is see what their common vision is with yours, what you probably need to shift in your vision, and to make it more collaborative and vertically aligned. There is nothing negative about doing this. There's all great things that can happen when you vertically align your vision. Understanding the student and culture in the classroom. Now, we've all probably been in the classroom and experienced some of these. I love pictures too. We hope that this never happens, because we know that the students have had total control of the room. You have none, and you are now the victim. Please make sure this never happens. Now, we know that corporal punishment probably worked back in the day, but through certain laws, it's definitely not allowed. Don't hit kids. You will get fired. But we have all experienced this. Anger disappointment, wanting to pull our hair because the class we just don't understand why the kids won't listen. Here are the 6 categories that we're going to talk about in understanding the student and the culture in the classroom. I will say this: we cannot teach if we don't have control of our classroom. And a lot of times we don't have control because we haven't built the trust with the students. We probably did not spend the time to get to know what triggers our students and their and bad behavior. So make sure that you are adapting to your students so that you can build the trust and they can do everything that you want them to do. Now look, we all love this profession, but the kids, when they come to school, it's just another class. And we have to make sure that it's not just another class, but no, they're coming home. Your classroom is a safe haven and a safe environment for them. Now, teachers coming into the unknown. Some things that you see is culture shock, classroom management issues. Now, you're being thrown into a situation without proper training, knowledge, or tools to be successful. These are things that you don't get in college education courses. Now, what to prepare to see in the classroom the first year of a Title I situation that could be a good or bad, but some of the bad would be student disrespect, lack of resources, from the students and the campus. Many times, you'll see students come with $200 pair of shoes, but no school supplies. Or they might be hungry because they're not eating at home. Definitely lack of parent involvement. Now, there are cultural differences between the classes, and we really want to jump into that right now. Now, we have all had rowdy classes, and if you haven't, you will experience one day. Some of the things that we see is in Title I is that poverty and behavioral trends will kind of get things rowdy in the classroom. We need to be open-minded and caring of children's lives. And I always go back to Maslow's human needs. We're going to start from the bottom of Maslow's human needs, and start with the physiological needs and the safety needs. I will tell you, these are needs that we cannot control. This is done at home by parents or guardians. And when these needs are not met, such as, food, shelter, if kids aren't getting sleep, those are physiological needs. Those are what parents need to do to take care of their children. Safety needs, personal security in the family. Are my parents employed? Do I have the resources for school or even for life, health? These are needs that must be taken care of with the parent. We can do our best in the classroom to take care of some of these, but it doesn't change what's going to happen when they go back home. Now, the top 3, we as music teachers and being an elective can control, such as love and belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization. We can create a classroom that's loving, that has that family feel that maybe they're not getting at home, or a sense of connection between really nice people and friends. We can help build self-esteem. Hey, when they miss a note, in their march, hey, instead of yelling at them, what we do is say, hey, we've all made those mistakes. Now, I bet you can do that better. You want to give it a minute and come back in? And the moment they come in, you say, wow, what a great job. We can help build their esteem. And self-actualization. This happens when they know they've achieved something and people notice. They feel great that they're talented at something. We have that opportunity to build that part of their human needs. Okay, guys? Now, in that's the individual And that's how the family works. Now, there are some hidden rules or trends that we need to look at as well. And this is from Ruby Payne. And this is poverty versus middle class versus wealth. And we're only going to look at the poverty level and compare it to the middle class. Okay, so I have four. Now, there are many communication, many trends that we see in the classroom, but here are four that we definitely see. For instance, communication. What we see here in our classroom is our classrooms are a lot louder. You can get two students who are right next to each other, and they are just, I mean, the noise level is just so up there. That's kind of normal. Quick story. When my wife and I were dating in college, we had two different backgrounds. I lived in poverty in Southeast Houston. My mother didn't work. My father worked odd jobs and at times didn't have a job. We had food stamps. And my wife was in the middle class, and our way of doing things were just totally different, and she saw that. Well, her first year, or first time coming to our house to visit my family, um, she stopped me. She goes, "Chris, it's so loud in here." And I remember saying, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "You have four TVs in this house, and they're all on, and you aren't even looking at all of them." I said, "And?" And she goes, "It's so loud." Well, that was just kind of our culture, and how my family is. We are a loud family. Next thing, food. Food in our growing up was not about quality, it was about quantity. We did not always know when we were going to eat. I remember many times we went to school hungry, and I'd be in class and my stomach would growl because I didn't have lunch. And that really did affect my learning because that was on my mind, not that algebraic equation. And a lot of times we see our kids who are probably a little hungry, and it probably affected their behavior as well. They're reaching out because they're hungry. Decision making. Decision making is all about survival in the lower socioeconomic class, entertainment, and even relationships. Now, you get a lot of yo mama jokes in the classroom, and you got to make sure that you understand that that's just part of their culture. Cussing is a part of their culture, some's culture, and we just got to hone that in and say, hey, not here. And we got to help them in their vocabulary, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And discipline. How many of y'all have got onto a student and they laugh? Well, that's just a way of them saving face. They just don't know how to react. Now, you get that, and then you get the total opposite of that. They just shut down. We get students who shut down and they won't say a word because you put them in an uncomfortable situation. These are just four trends that I'm listing, but there's many more. Some that you don't know of. Some is uh, family is possessions. My mom wanted us to go to college, but she did not want us to go very far. Um, we were a possession to her to stay close because that's kind of how our culture was. We all stayed close. Now, in comparing that with maybe the middle class, because in Title I, you're going to get middle class to low socioeconomic. Communication, you get a moderate noise level, and everything's spoken in turn. Food, it's all about quality. Did you like it? My wife tells my kids all the time, or asks my kids all the time, did you like the food? And it's never about how much food did you put in your belly. Decision making. We do our decision making through work and achievement. And in discipline, it's about changing behavior, and we take it serious. Now, we do have a role to play as a teacher. we can take on a semi-role as a parent in these for these students. Now, at Do It, about half the students would call me dad, and I would never deny him that saying, because if I felt like a family member, that meant more to that student that they were loved and cared for. Now, some of the things that we can take care of in our program is having the must-haves. And in Title I, these are some things that we must have in the classroom. For instance, we do carry food in our office for those students who are hungry. Extra clothes, male and female. As we talked about when it came to communication, higher levels of volume when speaking to, which happen at the house, we offer to our students in the morning and afternoon a quiet place to study and to practice. We also carry books. Now, a lot of times that in lower socioeconomic places, there are no books in the house, and we need to be the ones saying, "Hey, it's great to read." Our students have an issue with comprehension when it comes to spoken comprehension or comprehension in reading. So we need to offer books in the classroom. And with the comprehension, from the very start, we're telling the kids what we mean when learning the instrument and when we're giving instruction. Now, I want to read something to you when it comes to reading. By the time children start school, they should be exposed to 5 million words and should know about 13,000 of them. Now, this is verbal comprehension. By high school, they should know 60,000 to 100,000 words. Now, when it comes to lower socioeconomic, caregivers speak in shorter, grammatically simple sentences. There's less back and forth and fewer questions asked and few explanations given. Now, in a result, there's limited range of language capabilities. We need to speak to our students, and we need to speak to them and structure our sentences that is different for them, but that is really acceptable in the professional class. Okay, y'all? So, yes, don't speak down to their level of capabilities. When they don't understand what you're saying, then break it down for them. Now, we didn't have books growing up in our household, and I just remember taking standardized tests or just any kind of written assessment and having to reread. I had to reread the sentence over and over until I went, oh, that's what it means. So offer these things to your students. Speak to them educationally. Okay? Some other things that we're doing is that we need to teach the kids professionalism. How to shake a hand. How to tie a tie. We have many ties thanks to Michael. We had many ties, and we would have days after school where we would teach students how to tie ties. But our biggest thing when it comes to professionalism is when we're speaking to you, put your eyes in our direction and don't sway your eyes off of us. That is something that is very crucial. You don't speak when you're looking at me, you're just going to look at me. All right, in that we're building relationships. Now, we are the positive in the child's life, and we have to build trust by understanding. We adapt to the student, and through our love and care, we build trust, and then they're going to do what we need. Maybe you have a child who is not kind and is a little machismo. Well, for us, we are the model that kindness is a strength, not a weakness. I'll say it again. You're teaching and modeling that kindness is a strength and not a weakness. In our classroom and the program, the culture, we have to make sure that this is high priority, because this is the feel of the classes, but also is what hones in this being a learner and educational institution. Now, this is the student's safe haven, their own corner of the world. This is where mutual respect is just a given toward each other. This feels like a conservatory. This is where we help each other out. We're pushing to make each other better on our instruments. Now, I did have a college professor at one of the universities in Houston who came in and observed us and helped us throughout the day. And they started from the first section all the way up to the very end of the school day. And when observing, this person said, "Wow, this does not feel like a middle school band. This is a conservatory." And I said, "Well, yeah, that's kind of the goal. You know, kids are practicing before and after school. They're helping each other. They have a multitude of music that they're playing." Now, the thing that we tell our students is that in our class, progress will gain you attention, not discipline issues. When you come and play just a wonderful passage for us, that means more than anything, especially when it comes to, hey, why are you acting that way? So progress will gain you attention with your band directors. Now, in this, we push toward how do we get the students and the program to feel that way? Well, it's all done through motivation. We are the positive to the student. You know, we bring positive and relative competition to the classroom because students at this age, well, a lot of them are competitive. And those who say they aren't, there's some sort of competition in there. They just don't want to let us know. Students love competition, and we give them that opportunity from 6th through 8th grade through chair test assessments. I know when you say test, it's like, oh, another test. Well, for them, that's their time to show off. We give them the choice to earn a chair through chair challenges, which just by playing, they get 100, but they get to battle somebody in the classroom. Ooh, now that's fun because we've shifted over. They have the choice. Now, we combine athletic competition with academic competition, and that's all done through band, which is kind of really cool. Now, at the start of the year, we start by rewarding our students for not just good behavior, but for effort. And in this effort, we would give stickers or candy, and we would just give them serious praise. But you want to just really fade that out. That extrinsic reward is cool, but you want to fade that out because then it'll bite you later. The main goal is to motivate the kids to want to practice and to work and to give that effort. And our job is to foster their intrinsic motivation, their want to do it, because it's them who are doing it. And we do a lot of this through compliments. Now, in motivation, compliments reinforce the student's belief they have control over themselves and their surroundings. Now, that's kind of big because us as adults feel the exact same way. We all love to be complimented. Now, it's better done amongst their peers. The kids, well, let me tell you something. The kids can gauge their intelligence. Now, we have to make sure that we foster that. Okay? Very big. Make sure that we're giving compliments and give compliments in front of others. I do believe that students do get better. They do. And I'm not in the belief that students stay the same, especially through the outcome of what goes on at home. I really believe in that the brain is malleable and that through what we tell them, they can change. Some of the phrases we say to kids: wow, you're a scholar. My goodness, you have a great mind. You sound like a professional. Now, we are conditioning the student's brain from thinking poverty, poor, and survival to just going, I'm going to be successful. We have the power to condition them, and we need to make sure that we're doing it in a positive and just caring way. Now, in competing in the honor band process, there's a phrase, a quote. I'm a quotes guy, and I love quotes by Sir Walter Davies, and it's about competition. And it says, competition, not to defeat an opponent or to win a prize, but to pace one another on the road to excellence. Implementing useful and motivating teaching strategies for success. Now, this is no longer Title I. When you get to this point, this is the fun stuff. When you can understand the students or student, singular, and you understand the culture that's going on around the neighborhood or just even in their family life. When you start understanding how the student thinks, the triggers that create a certain behavior in your student or students, then you've built trust, and now you can move on to doing the fun stuff. This is where your vision is going to get, you're going to start reaching for it. This is no longer Title I. This is the fun stuff. Our belief in success starts with structure. You add pedagogical skills and teaching to that, and motivation skills. I think you've set yourself up for success. Now, in the structure part, we clearly state our expectations and standards to the students, and this all happens in the beginner band. First day, first week, first month will drive the next couple years that you have them. Now, you need to really know your pedagogy. Now, when I say that, you need to have a mentor. My teaching career has really worked because, and I've been successful because of the people I've put myself around. I always place myself and speak to people who have accomplished more, and I hate saying this, but who are smarter than me, and I love to pick their brain. That's just what I do, and I always get something out of it. Now, in that, you should already know each student's learning style and behavior, and this will help create a positive, caring, and teaching environment. I'll say this again, and I've said it before. Student performance will be the ultimate driving force for your vision and your goals. Now, in the beginner band, this is the future of not just your middle school program, but it's the future of the high school program. And for the student, this could be something that really pushes them to be successful adults and leaders in their community, great family members. So in the beginner band, we're teaching and building the culture and expectations. I always tell young teachers this: do not rush the process. It's a crock pot and not a microwave. If you feel that you're going to teach your students everything in 1 year, well, you need to go back to when you were in beginner band or beginner orchestra, whatever instrument you played. If you knew everything in that 1 year, you're a virtuosic performer. And you probably won't be, you probably shouldn't be where you're at right now teaching. You should be a performer making millions. Well, sometimes you might have. It might be 1 in a million that you have a student like that. But here's the thing. In reality, they're kids. You're teaching them how to play from the very beginning. Remember, music is a language. And we have to start from number one, that they don't know a thing about the instrument. And that's true. Now, here are some things that we teach. And these are um, just the basics of what they need to know in beginner band. Our belief is that they're going to learn a certain set of skills, and then the next year they're going to gain a new set of skills but we're still reinforcing what they learned the year before, even through high school. Now, we kind of do things like this. We do things by modeling and imitating, and then they create, they know, and then they repeat. And then the process happens over and over and over. Now, the way the brain works is I believe in executive function, which is a set of mental skills that help you get things done. A lot of times we talk about teaching the kids life skills. Well, when we start talking about behavior or what the kids can do, we first have to go, well, how does their brain work? Because we don't all think the same or do things the same. Our learning styles are different. Now, some things that the executive function does is, well, it's time management. Do the students pay attention? Can they switch their focus from one activity to another? Do they plan and organize well? Remember details? That's a big one for learning an instrument. Or can they multitask? And it goes on and on and on. Now, when the executive function isn't working as it should, behavior is less controlled, which affects work and school. It affects doing things independently and maintaining relationships as well. Now, isn't all that kind of stuff that we really want done in our classroom? Well, yeah. Now, we just need to understand that we have to hone in on skills that focus in on the executive function of their brain, which is in the frontal lobe. We do this by how we set up our lesson. Now, here are the basic things that we teach and reinforce. Now, it's not 3 or 4 pages of things to do. It's put into probably half a page. Embouchure formation, hand position, playing posture, breathing, air control. In theory, we're teaching them the clef, reading the staff, ledger lines and spaces, time and key signatures, inharmonic tones, basic rhythms, reading whole notes, half notes, eighth notes, and if we can get to 16th notes, hey, we've had a good year. Now, in scales in the chromatic, we only teach about 6 scales. When we have a well-balanced class and we're fostering intrinsic motivation, we give all the kids every scale, all 12 scales, but we expect 6 to 7. Those students who are intrinsically motivated to practice and work hard, they can play 12 full range scales and a full range chromatic scale. And we leave that and offer that to them. Now, in this, I'm going to talk about groups. Okay? In these groups, we are teaching students how to problem solve, and the biggest thing, give and take constructive criticism. And we'll dive a little bit more into that. Now, I believe that you should not have one first chair in your beginner band class. If you have a homogeneous class, you should have multiple first chairs, multiple second chairs, multiple third chairs, and so on and so on and so on. If you have a group of, a class of 20, you can group them in 4s or 5s. And in their groups, they compete with each other. Now, before you put them in groups, you want to make sure that you have studied the student, found the cliques, separate the cliques, put the smartest students in each group, okay? So you have a leader in each group, and then balance the groups from there. Now, in there, the kids can do chair tests amongst the students in their group, chair challenges, and so on and so on. So what we're doing is isolating and making the class smaller by having groups. And that gives us a chance to work more individually with the students in this group who need extra care. Now, in that, you use your students, and we're building leadership. Our first chair members can take out the last chair people in their group and go work with them. Because there's nothing better than having peers work with peers. A lot of times I'll step back and say, well, I don't I bet y'all can teach this better. Why don't y'all get in your groups and learn this one-liner? Go for it. You have 10 minutes and let's see what happens. And to my surprise, they work harder for each other than they would for me. We are building individual players, soloists, and in those, you're building small ensemble skills, chamber music. I feel, and this is my belief, that if every member can make a good sound in your band, the ensemble part of it just clicks together. So, you're building individuals in your beginner band, soloist in your beginner band. Okay? Now, when it comes to constructive criticism, this is where the comprehension part comes into play. We have to speak in a certain way to our students and how to fix something. We're teaching problem solving skills. Let me give you an example. We'll say that Fernando plays a passage for us on his chair test. He plays Mary Had a Little Lamb. We do not stop him, we let him go through it. Now, once he's completed his performance, we are going to open up the class, not just Fernando's group, but the entire class, to give constructive criticism. Now, in that, if it's very positive, hands will go up automatically. About 90% should go up because everybody wants to have a say in my classroom. So I'll point at Erica and say, Erica, what did you think? Erica, who has been really paying attention to the constructive criticism I've given her and the way I phrased it, how she should get better, should say, well, I felt that Fernando had a really nice sound. Great, I agree. This is me giving feedback to her as the person giving constructive criticism. And what else did you hear? Or see, because that is just important in learning than hearing. Now, she says, well, I felt he could have tapped his toe and prepped himself better. And I would say, well, what do you mean? I'm questioning her. I feel that Fernando did not subdivide in his head and toe tap before he played because his first note was not in time with his foot. Wow, I love the way you said that, Erica. Now, Fernando, did you feel the same way? Yes, I felt the same way. Fernando, what could you have done better? Well, I got nervous and I forgot that I need to breathe before I play. Wow, real? Well, that happens to me as well, Fernando. So this is the communication you need to have with your class, and it's best done when it's done in a small group. Now, that becomes really fun to the student, and a lot of times at the start of the year, everybody's afraid to say something, except for those few leaders who are like, "I'm smart, hear me roar." But this is what we're trying to build in our program, that whatever is said to us is not said in survival mode. We can't take it as an insult, but of a way of getting better. And we're building that in our beginner band so that when we move on to the next level, it makes sense. In closing the beginner band section, we need to make sure that we give students a chance to show off. So we give them performances throughout the year, even though they have two big ones, Christmas and the end of the year. Inside there we have performances. A lot of times we would go to the special needs room and we would play for the special needs students. Now, talk about life changing. When you play for students who are in need, you you're doing something to our performers, our beginner band students. You're teaching them that in middle school, we are not all the same. After our first performance for a special needs group, we would always go back to the class and we would sit down on the floor and we would talk about it. And I would say, "How did you feel?" And just the comments, we would get laughter as in, "Oh my goodness, it was just so cool to watch them love the music." We would get students who would actually cry. And the comments usually are, "It felt so good to make them happy. We were probably the best thing that happened to them today." Guys, we are not just playing music. We're teaching these students that what comes out of our instrument is emotion. And it's just such a great thing. Now, in transitioning from beginner band to the 7th and 8th grade, we feel that the 7th and 8th grade advanced groups, which when you get out of beginner band, you are now in an advanced group, just in categories. We feel that we're refining the culture and expectation. They are now in a bigger band class, but the expectation is the same. One of our big expectations is when we're talking, you're looking at us. Now, these bands, 7th and 8th grade bands, are an extension of what is taught in the beginner class. We are reinforcing what we taught in beginner band. Let me go back and what we're going to reinforce. Embouchure, hand position, playing posture, breathing, air control, articulation, the basic theory in clef, reading the staff, ledger lines and spaces, time and key signatures, and harmonic tones, rhythms, which in beginner band we stick with simple time, and scales and chromatic. We are still doing beginner band concepts. Now, as we're reinforcing that, we start adding new skills. If you're a top band member, like ours was a symphonic band, we were teaching compound time at that time, asymmetric meters, and it definitely extending the range on their scales and chromatic because they have to do region band. We now start enforcing more ensemble skills, and we enforce them the same way we did in beginner band in small groups. We always had models in our groups, and we use that to really reinforce the concepts that we wanted to hear, the different tone colors in the chords. We are doing more ear training through fundamental skills such as Remington, chordal tuning, singing, playing in unison and in harmony, teaching. This is where we teach lifted style. Our 7th graders learn lifted style in the 7th grade in the next level after beginner band. And we start doing a lot more dynamic drills. Now, if your staff allows, you always want to continue to do small ensemble. We split our bands 80% of the year. We were very blessed to have so many, to have the staffing. We had a percussionist on staff every day, and Mike was a brass specialist. I'm a woodwind specialist, and 80% of the year we were able to do woodwinds with woodwinds, brass with brass, percussion with percussion. Talk about a blessing. Now, here what we're trying to do is prepare the students to fit into the high school band, and we'll show you how that's done. Now, we have talked about models. We have a video to show you of a group of students about 2 or 3 years ago playing a piece called Bulgarian Rhapsody by Gabriel Musella. And this is a piece that was an asymmetric piece that really changed from 5/8 to 7/8. And in that, the 3 pattern would shift around, so it took a lot of concentration. But to really get the sounds that we wanted, we did small ensemble. We had a model. This group that you're going to hear our group of 8th graders who are strong leaders in our band, in our top band. We are playing a piece called Bulgarian Rhapsody by Gabriel Musella. It's a level 4 piece. This was our small ensemble group to lead us all the way to the end. It's about a 7.5, 8-minute piece, depending on uh, what we did in the piece. You want to do it again? Now, that was awesome. These students can really play their instruments. And what was taught to them during the process was beginner band concepts. How to start a note, how to sustain a note. Even with grace notes, we made it sound, we just gave them instructions that were just so easy on how to make that grace note work. Was just make sure you play it just before you play the downbeat. This was our model to getting us through to the full band, and we continued doing models all the way through this piece. Now, I want to show you where that led to, and that led to our full band performance. I can't remember if this is UIL or a later performance. So here is the full band performance. And that was the full band coming in to work on that based off our model group, and we made submodels throughout the band as we got through the end of the piece. Now, how cool is that? Now, we modeled and imitated, then the band created, they know how it works, and we would just repeat it. Now, our job as middle school directors is to help raise the expectation of excellence in the high school band program. We were blessed to be able to see this through Spring High School. We've seen them make honor band finalists. We've seen the spring band make it to the state marching competition in numerous occasions. Nationally recognized, state recognized. They've performed at Midwest. These are things that we see and we go, wow, those students are amazing. Because it's all based off student performance. Now, we also see individual excellence as students making region band, orchestra, area, and all state. In the video that you just saw, the clarinetist and the saxophonist made all state as sophomores in high school. How incredible is that? Now, our job is also not just for them as musicians, but to build like great people and successful people, but their instrument is a tool to success in their life. So what happens after that? We get them through to high school. Well, we start all over again and repeat the process. And that's the beauty. In our band program, every student knows our band mantra. Now, as we said earlier, the brain is malleable, but our beliefs can be challenged at times. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And the students understand that if they say they can't, they've set a limitation for themselves. By setting limitations, they are slowing down their progress, not just playing their instruments, but in life. And we help them believe that, no, if that looks difficult to play, that's why we're going to do our best in making sure we can do it. So, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And it's our job to say, you can do this. And I'll show you. Being a big quotes guy, this is a big one for me, and I got this one from my brother. If your dreams don't scare you, they are not big enough. Folks, set your vision, put it on paper, and make it big. And if it scares you, then you're getting closer to having the right vision. Now, in closing, music educators, us, we have a big role to play in our students' lives. Now, in our community, in our schools, we're here to hold everything together. Now, outside, dropout rates and mobility rates drop when students and parents feel a sense of community. Now, this is a quote from Eric Jensen. When children gain a sense of mastery of their environment, they are more likely to develop feelings of self-worth, confidence, and independence, which play heavily into the formation of children's personalities and ultimately predicts their success and happiness in relationships and in life in general. We're here to inspire children, y'all. And we're here to be very positive role models in their lives. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to be soft and not push the kids to be excellent. It's okay to get on to them. We are there as disciplinarians and as role models to push them to do better. Now, we are closing the gap, this academic gap that we see, and it's done through music, how they structure their practice and give we're teaching them so much through playing their instruments. Now, it is your job to get a mentor. You can find all the resources you need through TMEA, TBA, the Music Education Alliance, Music for All, Conselmer, and many more places. These are the ones that I go to first. I would say second after my actual mentor. And remember, your mentors are there to tell you when you're doing something wrong or you're doing this right, but here's the next step. Now, continue doing what you do because your students deserve it and they love you. As you're going back to school, just remember, hold the vision and trust the process. I hold this quote dear to me, and I've held it for the last couple years once I've heard it. If you want to be great at what you do, obsession is a necessity. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. I hope it was helpful. These are my beliefs in how I see education and teaching those in Title I schools. And I do believe once you get past learning about the student and their communities and what triggers behavioral responses, then I feel that Title I is just a title. It's gone. Please fill out this quick survey and let us know how we did. I hope this was helpful. And thank you so much. And I just pray that you guys have a wonderful school year. Thank you.